and it felt like we were fighting every day.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
I
that's
remember
kind of
that.
sad. I don't know. Our pregnancy was unplanned. We left it up to God. We were hoping to not get pregnant for 5 years
Yeah.
was what we were telling each other. Yeah, 2 months. 2 months after.
I started crying once I told you because I was so nervous. Because I was like, what did we get ourselves into? I don't think I slept probably for 4 days after we had her. I honestly don't think I did. Maybe like a couple hours here and there. It's finally nighttime, and this is our podcast.
All right. That's what I need to make back my way. All right.
What's up, guys?
What is up? I am. Oh.
Oh, sorry. Are you gonna start? I'm Tia,
And I'm Ben.
and this is our new podcast we're starting.
The reason why we call it that it's finally nighttime is this is pretty much our only chance to actually be able to sit down and do this.
Yep. We tried it a year and a half ago, and then we found out we were pregnant.
Yep.
Yep. And we tried it 2-3 months ago, and then that pregnancy turned into a little girl.
Named
Layla.
Layla.
And she's sleeping right now. So, and we went through the 4-month regression about 2-3 months ago when we tried to start the podcast again. And she was up every hour on the hour for a while. And then we started to sleep train her. And now she sleeps pretty good. She is teething right now, so it's not as consistent as it was, but it's a lot better than waking up every hour on the hour. So,
Yeah, that was tough. We started to air our podcast, and then we just got interrupted every 10-15 minutes.
yeah.
It was tough, but here we are now. I think that hopefully this is all part of God's timing, and this is the right time for us to start it.
Yeah, finally started. We just got back from a trip in Texas to see my mom, so we're still a little bit tired and trying to get back into the groove of things. But we were there for about a week and a half, and this was actually her first trip as well, and she did amazing. I think that's kind of what our podcast is going to revolve around, is that you're still able to travel with kids even when you have them. It's not like everything stops and everything revolves around your children. Because I know when we got pregnant, and even before pregnancy, is always people telling us that, you know, you can't travel anymore with kids. You're going to be stuck. You're going to have sleepless nights, which, yes, you're going to have sleepless nights, but it always goes away, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
it goes away.
You can make the most out of every single situation. And yeah, just everybody played it off once we got pregnant of like, all right, your fun is over.
And like your life is over.
Your life is over.
Much.
Like it will never be the same. It will be, it'll completely change, which it did. But that doesn't mean that you still can't do the same things you did pre-kid or.
Yeah. Because I mean, granted, the first, we'll say like 3 months are honestly, they're hell. For me, they were hell as like the mom, just because like your hormones are going everywhere. And if you're trying to breastfeed, like that's going crazy. And if you're going back to work, then I mean you're hitting up 12 weeks at whatever you're getting. I mean, I work from home, so it's not really a change for me, but it's those first 3 months are crazy because you're a first-time parent trying to figure out sleep and figure out why they're crying, what cry is what, and how much are they supposed to be eating, how much they're supposed to weigh, and all that kind of stuff. So yes, those first 3 months you're probably not going to be doing that much, but granted, we still did a lot of stuff. I feel like the first 3 months.
No, we did. And I mean, not being biased, I think that Layla is such a good baby. We've been told that from numerous people. And it's, of course, us, we're always thinking that, hey, we have it so bad because this is all that we know.
Yeah.
But, we hear stories from other friends of ours that have kids.
Have it so bad isn't like when she has like a really bad day. It's like, oh my gosh, like what is going on? But then you think like, okay, she's actually, and obviously every child is different. If you have a kid that has like colic or whatever it's called, then your aunt, obviously she said that her baby, the last baby that they had, she cried for like the first 6 months of her life and they could not soothe her. And every baby's temperament, right? Temperament?
Yeah,
Is that what
sounds right.
yeah, something like that.
Temperance.
Temperament. It's temperament is different than other babies. Like Layla is pretty good with like her temperament. Like she's easy with change. Well, you have some babies that can't stand change at all, and I think the routine that we have set has helped a lot with that. And having a routine set. But anyways, going on about us. How did we meet? And how long were we together? When we got married? When we had a baby? How did we feel about a baby? And going all about that. Would you like to start?
Oh man. Where to start?
I feel like we kind of talked about this in our other YouTube video that was supposed to turn into the podcast, and then that's literally when we found out we were pregnant, like a month later. But I think just doing like a shorter version of everything.
For sure. And that kind of going back before we started into like this entire story, of like what this podcast and what our YouTube channel is all about. Again, it's all revolving around us living our I don't know. I was gonna go with that.
Yeah, us living our life with a child, and you
And
know that we
still-
can still go
yeah.
skiing. You know, I went skiing on, was it like a month ago, maybe
Or a couple weeks ago.
And I went skiing. Granted, yes, Ben couldn't have skied yet, it was Huff Hills. It was not really a crazy ski resort, and I'm still trying to learn how to ski again because it's been like 10 years. But Layla came with, and she just sat on the ground in the snow on a blanket, and she was just chilling, had a blast.
Yeah.
It's like we didn't have to. We still work out. We have a home gym right here, and we still work out. It's not like
Exactly. So trying to show people like the ways that you're able to still live a normal and very thriving life.
yeah,
Even with a child. Again, we just went to Texas. Yesterday we traveled for 11 hours with a 6-month-old.
Yep.
And so like it is possible. Like she was so good yesterday. And I mean, just like the techniques and just things that you can do in order to still travel, to still work out, to still hang out with friends, to still be able to do all of these things. And not just say, all right, we have a kid, we have a family, my life is over.
and revolving it all around your kids.
Exactly.
Yes.
Your life is not over.
Yes.
It's just starting.
And not saying that you shouldn't revolve like your attention and everything around your kids, because you should, but like your mental health and everything comes first, because you can't be the best parent or best mom or dad you can unless you are 100%.
Exactly. If you're not getting the proper sleep, if you're not getting, proper diet and being able to actually travel, being able to have like interaction with friends, working out, all these things that, again, yes, your time is definitely diverted to many different things.
Yeah.
But still being able to.
Yeah, and
To thrive.
the sleep part, I feel like we're going off on a huge tangent right now, but it's okay. First podcast. But the sleep thing is obviously you're going to be sleep deprived.
Mm-hmm.
And as a mom, you're going to be more sleep deprived than the husband, most likely. And it's hard not to resent them because it feels like you're doing all the work for the most part. And yeah, and we've went through that.
Yep.
But
We
the
definitely went
sleep,
through that.
I felt like I was going to start going to counseling because when I wasn't getting enough sleep, it was a rough time in our marriage, I feel like. And
Yeah.
not just marriage, but then also like with Layla, because I feel like I wasn't interacting with her as much as I should be as a mom, or giving her attention, or being like a happy mother. Like I was obviously at like a 50, 75, probably a 50%, we'll say. And I'm only giving her 50% because that's all I can give. And then obviously my husband, Ben, is not getting anything because I can't give anymore. So you have to make sure to ask for help. I didn't really do that. But now I'm giving out tips and everything, ask for help. And yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Everybody's experience is going to be different. Everybody's postpartum is going to be different. From like the husband side, it's very tough because there's certain circumstances and certain things that you just cannot, you can't help. And so like when you lose that control of like, it's just so tough for me, especially when I can't help and control a situation, then I feel completely helpless. So for instance, a lot of different nights of where, hey, Layla just wants her mother,
Yeah.
or like only her mother can calm her down. because the smell, like just so many different things, smells and just
Yeah,
comfort, and all these
that
things that
was
we found
tough.
out about. And so it's like I would be trying to rock her to sleep. I'd be doing everything, humming to her,
And she'd
trying
be
all
bawling
different
her
kind of
eyes
things. She'd be
out.
bawling her eyes out, and finally just give it her over to Tia, and
As
all
soon
of a
as
sudden
she hit
just
my arms, she would just pass out.
yeah. So there's certain things like that. And so like during like the night, it's like okay, well you go do it because she doesn't want me.
Yeah.
But again, that's when you're sleep deprived and it's just been days on end of all doing this. I know we're making this sound super bad, but it's a part of it that you have to get through, and God gives us all like the strength in order to get through it. He only
Yeah.
gives us what we can handle. And so yeah, those times were definitely very difficult. And on top of that, when you were breastfeeding and stuff, yeah, like she was in your arms a lot more like the time, or when you were the only person that could get her down.
Yeah.
It was you that was dealing with her a lot
Oh,
more,
yeah.
so that of course in your eyes it felt like, hey, I'm doing everything
Yeah.
and you're not doing anything. But yeah, and just having good communication, I guess looking hindsight, having good communication, understanding that you're in it together are probably two like the biggest things.
Yeah, and like
and getting
as
past that.
like the husband, you have to make sure you understand that they're still going through postpartum. Like they are still 3 months is not a long time for being postpartum. Even right now, like 6 months, I feel like postpartum was not that long ago, but it's like it's been 6 months now, which your hormones are starting to somewhat regulate, but if you're still breastfeeding, then your hormones are still kind of all over the place because they're not. Once you stop breastfeeding, then it's 6 months after that. That's when your hormones go back to normal. So you just, as a husband, you need to make sure that like, just to take in consideration that their hormones are still all over the place. So some of the things that they say or do does not really mean what they mean.
Yep. Oh,
So-
exactly. And that's tough to do sometimes.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's very, very tough to do sometimes. And even when you feel like as a husband that, the workload's never going to be equal,
No.
it's always going to be teetering one way or another. And so just by doing the little things and trying to do as much as possible, and when something comes up, even you get criticized or whatever, you just try to shut your mouth. And I haven't. I was just gonna say it's more sassiness. Like it's funny that a majority of our
Yes.
arguments
Or sassiness.
are the smallest things, and it's just because one of us says something. All of our arguments, literally every single one.
we don't fight. Like I
We
mean,
don't.
we obviously have like disagreements sometimes, but like I don't think we've ever had a full blown fight where like we're
Oh,
pissed off at each other.
No.
But the times we do have fights, it's because sassiness or like if you ignore me.
Oh yeah.
And then you ignore me and then you continue to work. And then those are our fights. They're literally just the same things of sassiness, or he says something sassy, so I'm like, why are you being sassy? So then I get sassy, or vice versa.
Yeah.
But
And it's so funny because our like my brother-in-law, so your brother
yeah.
and our sister-in-law, they are the same
Yep.
exact way.
Yes.
And so we were having a conversation about this months ago and just dying about
At
it.
the
because
Pointers, because they have a YouTube channel.
They do. Go follow them.
Yep.
They're awesome. So our arguments are all about the same thing. And it's not even arguments, it's just bickering over we misinterpreted the way that each other said something.
Yes.
And so we interpreted it as being sassy and being like, why are you being sassy? Well, why are you being sassy? And that's
Yes.
literally where it all stems. And so for me, I'm a person that likes to step away
And I hate that.
from a situation and being like, all right, let's cool off. Let's make sure that we're not going to say something to each
Yes.
other that we're going to regret. And she's the opposite. She's like, I want you to come chase after me and come after me.
And my brother is the exact same way. And so we were talking about that. I'm like, yep, we are the exact same person. And then you and Paige are the exact same person
Yep.
too. Like you need to cool off. But it's mainly being able to communicate. But no matter what, you're gonna like bicker. Like we never fought. I guess we were only married for 2 months before we got pregnant. But even before like we were married or like dating or whatever, we never really fought about anything. But now like it's like just a bickering of sassiness or
Which usually stems off of
sleep deprivation but it's not like we're fighting all the time. There was like a period, I think it was probably like 2 or 3 months. I think it's when she was going through her sleep or
Regression.
sleep regression, and it felt like we were fighting every day.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh,
I
that's kind
remember
of
that.
sad. I don't.
And it made me really
feel that
sad
way.
because I was just like, "Are we okay? Is everything okay?" I was like, "What's wrong with me?" Because then obviously, as like the person going through postpartum, you think you're, I don't know, you think you're the problem, and it's like, have I changed as a person? Am I not the same person as I used to be? And
Yeah.
it's just, it's tough.
And I know that was a struggle because you were struggling with trying to get some normalcy of life.
Yes.
And so as far as like during your pregnancy, you left your previous full-time job and decided to go full-time with BWise Media and then also your own business that's, coming to fruition.
Yeah.
And so that was a whole change because that kind of changed up that normalcy of an 8 to 5. And then from there as well, you like when Layla was born, we just didn't have time to work out.
Yeah.
And we
yeah.
didn't have time to, and then winter hit. And so all of a sudden we're in North Dakota and you're not able to go out and do recreational things, go out and hike.
And
go
I
out
still
and
feel like
bike,
this though with the whole winter.
and go out and do all this stuff. So we're just cramped inside the home. And so, yeah, we talked about that a lot. Actually, as soon as we got back from the airport last night, you're like, all right, when are we moving?
Yeah. I'm ready.
And so, yeah, it was just, that's a very, very difficult thing that, we had to come to realize. And, as a husband, it was like, there is some times that I was like, you're going to work out today.
Yeah.
And so it's funny because she was like, all right, is that like a fat joke? Or is that like, I'm like, no, you're going to work out today because it makes you feel so much better. It makes
Yeah.
you feel a little bit more of the normalcy of life before pregnancy.
Yeah. And I wouldn't say that I had, like, I wasn't diagnosed with postpartum depression, but I've been depressed before, like, a couple, like 4 or 5 years ago, like after my dad passed. And it was very similar to that. So you just didn't want to leave the house. Like, I just didn't want to leave the house. I didn't want to do anything. Like, I just wanted to sleep, take care of my child, and go to sleep, eat. And that's pretty much it. Like, I didn't want to do anything else and didn't want to see people. So yeah, I probably was depressed. I'm good now. I'm really good now, but
Yeah.
it was tough.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that was a very tough time. And so now
I feel like we're making this like really negative for kids right now.
we're not.
I'm just like being realistic about postpartum and how it is, but
And you never really know what something's going to be like until you go through it.
no,
So,
because like
all
your
of these
sister-in-law,
things-
like or I guess our sister-in-law, she has 4 kids, and I mean she's thriving. Yeah, I mean she's probably, going insane sometimes because she stays home with all of them, but I don't think she's ever had postpartum depression.
Yeah. And, a lot of people do hide it. I mean, a lot of people,
Yeah.
and that's something that again, with our pregnancy, you did so much research. You researched and, yeah, I mean, and even through all that,
yeah.
there's still things that came as complete surprises to us
Yes.
and that we learned. And so that's what we're also hoping with our channel to kind of make people aware of that.
Yes.
We've had friends that now become pregnant and have asked us questions, and I'm like, hey, dude, these are some things that you need to watch for in like your wife. And like during this of like, you need to be supportive for her during these times. There is going to be this, there's going to be that. Just pay attention to these signs and the,
Yeah.
how she reacts to postpartum, because every woman reacts to it differently.
Yeah, and it's more common to, if you've had depression or anxiety before, it's more common to get postpartum depression and anxiety. If you haven't had it before, then it's not as common, and that's probably why I got that. And it's
Yeah.
just not being able to do anything. Then it hit winter, so I mean you have seasonal depression on top of that. It's tough.
It's a real thing. This winter has been extremely difficult because we've had over 100 inches of snow here in North Dakota. We've broken records, and it's only midway through March. And
Yeah.
typically we get another huge storm in April every year.
And we started pretty early with our snow this year as well.
Oh.
I think it was the second week in November. It was the first week in November because we're coming back from Fargo.
Yes, and so
Yeah.
the state was shut down for essentially 2 or 3 days.
March. So it's been 5 months. So I mean, you think about it, it's half of your year is snow and no sun, no nothing. You can't really go outside and do anything, and so that's why we're trying to like get back into skiing so that we can do something outside and
Yeah, and getting back into traveling, and that's a huge.
and getting back and also into YouTube because this is like
Yes.
something that we both enjoy and like
Exactly.
creating content that is for us and not for other clients.
100%. Because I'm a filmmaker, she's a photographer, and so this is just a perfect mix of both. And just getting positive message and to flip from the negativity that we're talking about with
Postpartum.
with just postpartum
Yeah.
and just pregnancy in general. What a joy in our life that Layla's been.
Oh my
we wouldn't have it
gosh.
any other way. And so, of course, our pregnancy was unplanned. We left it up to God. We were hoping to not get pregnant for 5 years was
Yeah.
what we were telling each other. And so God laughed and said, hey,
2
this-
months.
Yeah, 2 months. 2 months after our wedding.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. We got married in 2021.
Yep.
November of 2021. And the reason why we got married at the time is because we were filming weddings, and that was the only time we can get married that we weren't filming weddings. So,
It was crazy. Yep.
and so we got married November 2021. It was a beautiful day. Oh my gosh, it was like 75 degrees.
For it being November 6th, so like to put in
Yes.
perspective,
This
November
year.
November 6th of 2021,
Yeah,
it was a 70-degree day,
yeah,
sunny, barely any wind,
yeah. It was barely wind.
gorgeous.
Oh my gosh.
Year later, we received over the course of the 3-day weekend 18 inches of snow.
Yeah.
As we were just saying,
I think it was
The
probably
entire
like
state was shut down for 3
like
days.
15 degrees, 20 degrees, something. Yeah, it was ridiculous. But yeah, so we got married, went on a honeymoon for 2 weeks. We did a road trip, and we can all talk about that in like another podcast of like where we all went. It was a blast.
bought a conversion van. That's also a story for
Oh,
another time.
Gosh. And then we filmed another wedding on New Year's Eve in Castleton, North Dakota.
Yep.
And then, like a week and a half later, found out we were pregnant. And I knew immediately that we were pregnant because I was like, I knew that I was high that day. We didn't really care.
Not on weed, but
Yeah,
as in
high as an ovulation. Sorry, I forget that people don't really know that sometimes. But
I was high that day.
I was very high that day. So then a week and a half later, I was like, I'm definitely pregnant. So I started buying stuff on Amazon as soon as like the deed was done because I knew that we were pregnant. Like I just knew. So I bought like onesies. I bought like a North Face hat. I bought a lot of stuff to surprise Ben because I wanted to surprise him some way, even though, and it didn't really hit me that I was pregnant until obviously I took the pregnancy test. But then also it still didn't hit me until we actually had Layla as well.
Yeah.
That was
It
crazy. But then surprising you, it was January 11th. You literally just went full time with your job on January 10th. Because I
Yeah.
remember that. We just got done with CrossFit, and I was like, I'm feeling terrible today. Like, I feel like I'm going to throw up everywhere at CrossFit. It was a really hard workout. It was like 50 billion crunches, I felt like. We had total bars, we had pull-ups, we had handstand push-ups. It was like crazy workout. I went to work that morning, though, took a test, and there was like maybe a sight line, but you just never can tell sometimes because like the lines are, if your eyes are deceiving yourself. So I was just like, oh, whatever. Went to CrossFit after work, and then I went home, and I was like, okay, I should take a test. Took a test, and that thing was bold, I tell you. It was bold. And you're not supposed to take tests at nighttime, I don't think. I think you're only supposed to take them in the morning with your first pee or whatever. And then we went to go take our Blink cameras. And we'll link the actual entire video down below because it was like the entire thing. But we did we put our Blink cameras up, came back upstairs. I took another test that said like pregnant or not pregnant. That thing said pregnant. And then I surprised you by trying to do a TikTok.
Yeah, she was trying to teach me a TikTok dance, completely improvised it,
Yep.
and I had no idea. So it's kind of a sick joke because you came down Friday and you're like, "Hey,
I just got my period.
I just got my period. I'm not pregnant," just to see what my reaction was gonna be.
And you're like, oh, are you serious? I'm like, yep, I am. And I was trying to like hold my face like really well.
And so I gave her a big hug and I said, "I know we weren't planning for this, but like I'm so sorry because we kind of
Yeah.
had some excitement about like, we are so unsure and not Like we were not planning for this.
But then actually
if
that
it happens,
that happened actually a month prior though too.
yeah, that's right.
It happened a month prior because we thought that we were pregnant, and then I got my period and I was sad, and I don't know why I was sad, but I was sad. I was just like, oh, we're not pregnant, and then you're like, why are you sad about it? I'm like, I don't know. Like I know we want to wait, but I'm kind of sad about it. I remember that.
Yeah, it was a complete roller coaster of emotions of like, we again didn't want to be yet because we still wanted to have the freedom
Travel
to
because
travel.
everyone's telling us that your life ends when you have kids.
Exactly.
And so that's why we were just like, I started crying once I told you because I was so nervous. Because I was like, what did we get ourselves into? I'm like, do we have a big enough house? Do we have enough money to pay for this baby? Do we have just everything? Just
Every
going
thought
through,
ran
yeah,
through your mind.
yeah. I did not sleep that night. I didn't.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Because then it's just a whole, all those thoughts run into your mind, and it's just a whole nother chapter of your life that you're like, okay, here we go. Life is going to be changed forever. But
Yeah.
for us, our entire timeline is crazy because
I was just gonna
we
say that.
met each other in 2020, January of 2020, and then we started dating in April of 2020, and then we got engaged on New Year's Day of 2021. So it would have been January 1st, 2021. And then we got
December 31st, but yeah. We got engaged.
December 31st, yeah, because
Okay.
then January 1st.
Yeah.
So New Year's Eve. And then we got married on November 6th of 2021.
Okay, backwards, we bought a house.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So we did so many firsts within,
the span of 3 years.
yeah. And the thing is like, I was coming out of a 3-year relationship, and you were coming out like of a year relationship
Yep.
too. And we both told each other that we're not going to date anybody for about a year just to focus on ourselves. Literally 2 weeks later, after my boyfriend and I broke up at the time, we met and we hit it off. And the fact that we've done all this stuff within, what, a year and a half, 2 years, and that with my ex, not knocking it down, we did nothing. Like, nothing at all. It's just like, you're with the right person. You know when you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we did so many things. I mean, we got engaged, we got married, we bought a house, we bought a conversion van, we got pregnant, we had a child. It's just, we started our own business. I'm starting my business.
We went full time with the business. Yeah,
it's just
so
many things.
Many things. And even during our relationship, I started a new job. I went
through like
quit
3 jobs. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it's just absolutely crazy. So that's kind of like the ongoing joke is that we are just full out sprinting through life because there's all these huge milestones that we just compiled into 3 years. And even 3 years or less.
Yeah.
And so now it is really exciting now that we're actually talking about this and like how fast life has gone to think about where we're gonna be in another 3 years.
Because it was COVID. We met during COVID. It was right before COVID happened in January.
And I was still living at my parents' place.
I was living with my mom.
Your mom in Fargo. So like we were doing long distance for a little bit. You decided to move to Bismarck, your own single apartment, and we still remember that apartment.
Moved to Bismarck with a guy you just met. 5 months maybe, and we weren't living together. Obviously, I was living by myself. So I'm living by myself in Bismarck, a brand new place I've never been. Didn't have a job. Like, what was I thinking?
Yeah.
I just got out of a 3-year relationship of like, okay, I'm just gonna hop into a new one. When I literally just told myself that, hey, I'm not gonna be dating anybody for a year. Like, honestly, I don't know what my mom was thinking at the time, but the thing is you knew my brother.
Yep.
And I knew your brother. And so, but we never knew each other. So I think that's what helped everything go so fast as well. Because family knew each other, but we just didn't know each other.
Yeah,
so.
Exactly. It's
Yeah,
crazy how God works.
Crazy timeline. But anyways, yeah, once I told you that we're pregnant, we ended up telling your parents because we were just really nervous. We didn't know what to do. But first trimester was rough for me. It was, I mean, you too, but for me, it was, that was the worst. I was sick for probably a month and a half.
Yeah.
I probably didn't get out of bed for about 3 weeks, and I couldn't eat anything. And it's not like I was throwing up every day. It was just like I would gag, and I felt so terrible. But went through first trimester, second trimester, I started to feel a lot better. Started CrossFit again, and zoomed past second and third trimester, and then we had our daughter.
Yeah, which we can go into depth on another podcast of the full pregnancy,
The full like
and
pregnancy birth
everything
story, but
that went on.
we had her, and then I think that's when I had her on my chest, that's when it felt real, because the entire pregnancy didn't really feel real either. I was just like, whatever, my belly's just getting big, you know. I mean, yes, the here and there you had like her kicking me because she kicked a lot, but it just did not feel real that there was an actual human inside of me.
Yeah, and even that she was our actual child. I'd say the most powerful moment was, of course, when you finally like gave birth to her, and it was so cool. We were able to go in and get her actual ultrasound at like a professional ultrasounder's place. Like she does it out of her home,
Yeah.
in order to give you really high quality video and photos and all that. And so like her 3D ultrasounds, you could actually see like Layla's face. And so,
And she told us that she's like, oh, she has hair.
yeah.
And she's like, oh, look at her lips. Her lips are so cute. I'm like, oh my god.
And she was actually the first person to tell us that she was a girl, because
At
at
12
12 weeks, which was crazy. So even before the doctor told us, because somehow this girl over here does not drink caffeine, or soda is understandable.
Soda,
Don't drink
yeah.
soda, but like no caffeine, no coffee, whatever. And so then
literally just
you're-
water, or right here is none water. So it's just like electrolytes. That's all I drink usually.
Yeah. So like everything was just so clear.
Yeah.
That like she was able to get like a perfect image of the way that Layla looked. And so she's like, hey, this would be the earliest that I've ever predicted gender of a baby.
Yeah.
Do you guys want to know? And so of course you also cannot wait for anything.
Oh yeah, I was
So
like, tell me.
Wait a minute. Let me just compose myself or whatever else. And he was like,
Yes.
tell us. And so he was like, okay, it's a girl. And I was like, no way.
Because we were both thinking, well, we both wanted a boy right away because I don't know, that's what we wanted or thought we wanted.
Yeah, that's what we thought we wanted.
But on the back of our minds, I think we both knew it was gonna be a girl.
Yeah.
And I could not see it any other way right now. Like
No, I couldn't either.
Without Layla and her pink outfits and her just like
And her
oh
smiles
my
and stuff.
gosh.
She's just the most smiley baby.
Yeah.
And we actually have, we might have to, I don't know, take that somewhere, put that somewhere. We actually have video of pretty much all that, like all like our ultrasounds, but also when we
Yeah.
were finding out the gender.
Yeah.
I basically filmed all like those sessions when we were in there, seeing like the ultrasound.
Yeah.
And so, excuse me, it was so cool. But just like what you said, I mean, now that she's born, there were still like times even
I feel like
throughout
now
of where we felt like we were just babysitting her.
Yeah, and I feel like that's still now. It feels obviously more real now. It's like, oh, that's our child, you know. But I don't know. Yeah, I feel like
It took months.
it took months of just like, this is our child. Like this is literally our
Like
child.
we're a father and mother.
Yes.
It's just mind blowing.
Like we're keeping this thing alive. Like it's only alive because of us. Well, because of me. At the time, I was like, I'm the only person that's keeping her alive. This is so cool. And yeah, it feels more real, especially like going through like the airport and everything. I was just like, yep, this is just typical. This is my child. But there's times where I'm like, I still feel like a 16-year-old me. Like I still feel like I'm 16 years old in high school, still in dance, doing all that kind of stuff. It's like, no, I'm 24 and I'm married. I have a house. I have a baby. I'm a mom. Like what?
That's a really good, like, I was just thinking about that as we're talking right now. I'm like, yeah, I feel like I'm still in college, or I still
Yes.
feel like I'm in high school or something like that, and that I'm not that old. And I guess that just goes to a kind of a test that after you turn like 21, all the years after that like don't matter. They
Just go
all blend in with each
Yeah.
other, because it's like, oh, you're 22. What's cool about that? 23, 24, 25.
I mean, when you're 25, you can rent a car. So I
you
can't
go.
even rent a car yet. So that stinks.
That's all on me.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just kind of crazy. And so when you say that you're a father or mother, you're like, oh, I shouldn't be one yet. I'm like, dude,
Yes.
I'm 27. Like, yeah, I should be a father, or it's
mean-
not that out of the ordinary to be a father.
Yes, and I think that's what it is. It's just like, wow, like I'm actually at the age that I can be. That it's not. I don't know. Yeah, it's crazy.
It's the same thing with marriage too, and owning a house.
Well,
all like these milestones.
I was technically pretty or young to be married because I was 21,
Yeah.
right?
No, you're 22.
I was 22.
You're 22. We just talked about
I
that.
just turned 22. It was a month or later, but I mean, I was considered young to be married at this day and age. I am now. Back then, no, it's pretty typical. But this day and age, I feel like the ages to be married and to have kids now are just pushed to like their 30s, 40s, which is fine. But I guess we're just keeping it
Yeah.
what we usually do.
Exactly. Yeah. So I mean, all like these huge milestones in your life, you feel like you're not ready for yet. And so whether that is marriage, buying a house,
A new
having
job.
having a new job, having a child,
Yeah.
but it's just nuts because like you're more than capable and more than ready for it. And same thing with like
Yes.
having a child. That was another point I was gonna make. Trying to flip like a positive side of like, we had a lot of negatives that we talked about, but like as I said in the beginning, God only gives you what you're capable of.
Yeah.
And so like for instance, before we had her, like even when Tia, like, we're counting on the days of Tia giving birth, just thinking like, all right, soak up this sleep because I'm going to freaking die. Like, how am I going to do this was actually my
Yes.
real question was like, how are we going to be able to do this? How are we going to be able to take care of a child? How are we going to be able to work full time and own like the business and take care of her on such little sleep? But
You just figure it out.
yes, you do. And like God gives you the strength to be able to go through it. So all of
Yeah.
a sudden, like I was sleeping, I was getting 9 to 10 hours of sleep at night.
And that's the
8 to
thing.
10 hours.
We were talking to, I think it was your mom or something, that men or like the partners just get thrown in to sleepless nights because usually the pregnant people, women that are pregnant, whatever, the third trimester, you're not getting much sleep because you're up every night or every hour or so to go to the bathroom, or you just can't find a good position to sleep. Because I remember it was so tough for me to sleep at the end of third trimester, and if I didn't work out, I did not sleep that night. Like I had to have something that would exhaust me so I could sleep at least like 4 or 5 hours. But I was actually getting trained into not sleeping that much while you guys were just thrown into it. Like you said, you were sleeping 9-10 hours.
Yep.
Now you went from 9-10 hours to sleeping, what, 4 hours, 5 hours, maybe 6 hours?
Yeah.
It's like you guys just get thrown into it. So it's kind of like, dang, good for you guys. Because I don't know how I do. At least I got like, somewhat
like eased into it almost.
eased into it, yeah.
Yeah. But I just remember people asking me about a month in and asking, how's it being a father? How is it transitioning? And I said, God's giving me like the strength. Like I was surprised, but you adapt so quickly.
Yes.
And I swear that there's something with when like the moment that child is born that you go into dad and father mode.
Yeah.
And you're and mother mode as
Yeah.
well. And as parents, as being the mom and dad, you all of a sudden kind of get like these superpowers of, all right, we're going to be able to take care of this child through thick and thin.
Yeah.
All of a sudden I'm able to function on 6 hours of sleep.
Yeah.
And
Which honestly does not seem that bad, 6 hours, but
no, it doesn't.
if you're going from like 9 to 10 to you're cutting freaking 4 hours from your sleep, then yeah, it's
all of a sudden you're cutting your sleep in half, and you're still able to take care of a child, to be able to function at work,
Yeah.
to be able to go on all like these film shoots and these commercial shoots, and be able to hang out with family and communicate with friends and all that stuff.
Yeah, and she was actually a pretty good sleeper.
She was amazing.
She slept when she turned a month old. I think it was from a month. She was a month old, and she slept through the night for a month.
Yep.
And I don't know why or how, but she just slept through the night, and I was like, okay, well, I ain't gonna touch that. Then she got the 4 months regression, and that hit us hard.
It did.
but now she does great. But it wasn't that bad. The first week was very rough. The second night was, I don't think we got any sleep. I don't think I slept probably for 4 days after we had her. I honestly don't think I did. Maybe like a couple hours here and there, but
Yeah, we'll have to tell that. in a
yeah,
different
I don't
podcast
think I slept
episode.
at all. And I think the adrenaline that you have, like you just
Oh, yeah.
you just power through. But like
You
you're
do.
saying, you power through things, and you can only do. God gives you things that you can only do. So yeah,
Exactly. Well, you think it's time for bed?
yeah, it's time for bed. It's 8:45,
45.
and our daughter's still sleeping, so that is
Still
great.
sleeping. Let's go.
But thank you for coming to our It's Finally Nighttime podcast. I'm glad to finally get a podcast out, our number one.
Yeah.
And hopefully we can still continue to do this. And yeah.
We're hoping to release one a week.
Oh, yep. I didn't
That's
know.
just a decision I made right
Just
now.
a decision that I made right now. But thank you for coming. Follow us on our other YouTube
Social-
channel.
Yeah.
That is the Wisebecks. And yeah, social media. We're not really on social media right now because we're taking a break, but you can follow us on social media, and we'll link those right here. But we'll see you in the next time when it's finally nighttime.
Good night.